The 1631 apparition of Saint Michael in Mexico. In the heart of central Mexico lies Tlaxcala, a land shaped by ancient civilizations, fierce battles, and profound faith. It is here, in 1631, that Saint Michael the Archangel is said to have appeared, not once but 3 times, to a young indigenous convert named Diego Lázaro de San Francisco. This is the story of how centuries of conflict, conversion, and devotion set the stage for one of the most remarkable apparitions in the Americas. Saint Michael the Archangel is known in Christian tradition as a protector, a warrior, and a defender of God's people. Throughout history, he has been associated with moments of crisis, plagues, wars, and spiritual danger. His apparitions often come with messages of protection and healing, and the people of Tlaxcala would soon find themselves in desperate need of both. Long before the arrival of Europeans, Tlaxcala was a powerful indigenous confederation surrounded by the Aztec Empire. The Tlaxcalans resisted Aztec domination for generations, fighting off repeated attempts to absorb them into the empire. Their warrior culture was strong, their independence fiercely guarded, and their resentment of Aztec oppression deeply rooted. When Hernán Cortés arrived on the shores of Mexico in April of 1519, the Tlaxcalans initially met him in battle, but after suffering heavy losses, they recognized an opportunity, an alliance with the Spaniards against their ancient enemy, the Aztecs. That alliance proved decisive. Tlaxcalan warriors marched beside Cortés and played a crucial role in the fall of Tenochtitlan. In the decades that followed, missionaries accompanied soldiers, and Christianity spread throughout the region. Yet this transformation was not simple. Disease ravaged indigenous communities. Old beliefs lingered beneath new devotions. Faith took root, but often under strain. It was into this world that Diego Lázaro lived his life. Diego was poor, uneducated, and held no position of authority. But he was deeply devout. He prayed constantly, attended Mass faithfully, and lived quietly between ancestral memory and newly embraced faith. Like many indigenous Christians of his time, Diego believed sincerely, even when belief brought little comfort or recognition. In 1631, that quiet faith would be tested. According to tradition, the first apparition occurred during a public religious procession held for the feast of St. Mark, a day associated with prayers for protection over the land and the people. Clergy and faithful walked together through the countryside, chanting litanies and invoking God's mercy at a time when disease and uncertainty weighed heavily on the region. Diego took part in the procession near the town of San Bernabe. Then, apart from the gathered crowd, the air grew still. Before him appeared a radiant figure, armed, luminous, and commanding. It was Saint Michael, the Archangel. The Archangel spoke words ancient and unmistakable in their authority. Who is like God? Saint Michael identified a ravine nearby and told Diego that beneath a great rock, God had prepared a spring of water meant for healing. Before departing, the Archangel warned him plainly. Many would doubt his testimony, some would mock him, and others would oppose him, but the truth would make itself known. And then the vision ended. Despite the clarity of the message, Diego did nothing. He was young, he was indigenous, and he understood the world he lived in. Claims of divine visions carried consequences, especially when made by someone without rank or authority. Diego feared ridicule, punishment, and disbelief. So he remained silent. Days passed, then weeks. According to early accounts, Diego fell gravely ill. Fever consumed him, his condition worsened, and his family believed he would die. It was then, when his strength was nearly gone, that Saint Michael appeared again. This time the Archangel came as correction. Saint Michael scolded Diego for doubting the message he had been given and for failing to act. The warning was unmistakable. Silence carried consequences. What followed marked a turning point. Saint Michael transported Diego to the ravine he had previously described. No longer only words, now there was demonstration. Saint Michael showed Diego the boulder and revealed that there was a spring beneath it for healing the sick. As the Archangel disappeared, Diego found himself back on his bed and healed. Diego rushed with his family to the ravine, but couldn't move the heavy boulder. What followed is preserved in devotional tradition. The boulder was moved with unexpected ease, and access to the spring was suddenly made possible. Diego returned with others to the site. They uncovered the spring exactly where it had been revealed. Water flowed where none had flowed before. Word spread quickly. The sick came. Healings were reported, and skepticism gave way to investigation. Water from the spring was gathered. The story no longer belonged to rumor or devotion. It now belonged to inquiry. Saint Michael appeared once more to reaffirm the spring's purpose and to instruct Diego to submit fully to church authority. Diego had seen the ravine. He had been healed. Others now knew of the spring, and still it had not been placed before the church. According to the accounts, the Archangel appeared once more. Not to reveal a place, and not to work another sign, but to end hesitation. This time, the message was unmistakable. Diego was commanded to bring the matter before ecclesiastical authority, without delay and without fear. What had been entrusted to him privately was now to be submitted publicly. After this, Diego did what he had not yet done. Diego carried water from the spring to the diocesan bishop, Don Gutierre Bernardo de Quiroz, whose see in Puebla held jurisdiction over Tlaxcala. From that moment on, the events no longer rested on vision. They entered investigation. Witnesses were questioned, the water was examined, reports of healing were recorded, and what had begun in silence was now placed, deliberately, within the judgment of the church. Church officials questioned witnesses. Testimonies were taken. The water itself was distributed under supervision. According to tradition and later records, those who drank from it experienced recoveries that could not be easily dismissed. Only then did ecclesiastical opinion shift. Not because of Diego's word alone, not because of devotion alone, but because the facts demanded attention. Over time, the local bishops accepted the authenticity of the events. A small chapel was authorized, pilgrimage began, and the ravine became known as San Miguel del Milagro, Saint Michael of the Miracle. In 1631, Saint Michael did not appear to princes or prelates. He appeared near a ravine to a young indigenous man whose only distinction was faith. He came to point to healing water hidden beneath the earth. The story of San Miguel del Milagro is not a tale of spectacle. It is a story of process. Revelation followed by doubt. Doubt followed by correction. Correction followed by investigation. And finally, confirmation. Today, the spring still flows. Pilgrims still come, not searching for proof, but for meaning. Whether approached as a believer, historian, or both, San Miguel del Milagro remains what it has always been. A place where faith entered history quietly and remained. Diego Lázaro passed away just 3 years after the apparitions in 1631. He is buried behind the high altar of the Santuario de San Miguel del Milagro, where his tomb is marked with a plaque referring to him as a beloved man of the celestial prince. The Catholic Church has formally approved the apparitions of Saint Michael the Archangel to Diego Lázaro. Investigations in 1632, 1644, and 1675 concluded that the events at San Miguel del Milagro were worthy of belief. No official record indicates that the Catholic Church has ever formally opened a cause for the canonization of Diego Lázaro de San Francisco. Although not a saint, local tradition often treats him with saint-like reverence, noting that his body was reportedly found incorruptible years after his death.